Welcome, everyone, to the Women Are Worthy show. I'm your host, Jacqueline Charles. Today, we're going to have a phenomenal show. Not that all my other shows are not phenomenal, but baby, this woman here is fierce. I want to introduce you to Miss Georgia Woodbine. She's done so many wonderful things, including being a producer, a motivational speaker. I mean, her platform, she encourages women to live their best life. Yes, I love women like that. So, Georgia's going to share her journey with us. Buckle up, enjoy the ride. Please post the show, share the show. We're just going to have a great time tonight. So, without further ado, the Women Are Worthy show is so happy to introduce Miss Georgia Woodbine. Hi, Georgia.
Hi, Jacqueline. Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Well, I want people to know number one, Georgia's in New York, and y'all know how I feel about my New Yorkers. And she got some Jamaican in her. The
That's
yada,
the yachty.
And the minute you heard about this woman and read up about her, did my research, she's just so powerful. She is just so open. She's sharing. This is the epitome of a worthy woman because the fact that she shares her journey, she wants other women, as I said, to live their best life. Look at her. She is all laid and slayed. She found a faucet laid, honey. Love the hair. So, Georgia, can you please tell us a little bit about Georgia? Who are you? Because I know who you are, but just give us a little background story.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think everybody has a backstory, right? It all started about 15 years ago. I began rediscovering myself. I was a single mom. I was in tons of debt. I worked in unfulfilling careers and failing relationships on top of that. And then I had dealt with some really extreme health issues. I had to do surgery. I didn't know how I made it out of the surgery. It was really intensive. And I think that I knew I wanted change in my life, but I had to go through all those things to figure out, well, what is my purpose and why am I here? I always tell my clients as a life coach, I don't teach what I don't know and I don't lead where I don't go. So everything that I talk about, everything that I share with people has to do with my personal journey, all the setbacks, all the obstacles, all the challenges, because, when you're successful, people just look at the outside. They don't really understand what it takes to become the person that you are and what it takes to build the character that you are. And so I like to share both. I like to share with people what my failures were as well as what my successes are so that they understand that you're not alone and you are going through a journey. So don't try to jump ahead and don't get so hard on yourself if you don't see results right away. Everybody has a time to shine, and just go through your journey, embrace it, appreciate it, because it's really building you up for where you're going in life. And so that's what I like to share with people.
And the fact that you're dropping gems and words of wisdom, because I'm like, I can't type fast enough, okay? Because I understand what you're saying when you're talking about we all have a backstory. And it may not be pretty, but I think the scars, like when you give birth and you have stretch marks, everything tells a story. Each stretch mark tells the time when maybe your eighth month, maybe your fifth month, sixth month. Everything that we have has a story connected to that. And I think we should be proud of our story. It's almost like shedding your skin, where some people are embarrassed. My question to you is what led you to motivate people and to help people, inspire them?
Well, it's so funny. I always tell people, something that you love to do, that you've been doing for a very long time, is tied to your purpose. So motivating people is something that I've always done my whole life, even I think back in high school. Then even in the different careers that I've had was about motivating people. I worked in the entertainment for a little while. I was managing artists and producers, and part of that was not just doing their bios and press releases and trying to get them record deals and get them to sign contracts, but also motivating them. Also, personal development, which is a lot of what I teach now with life coaching. So I was a life coach back then, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know that's what I was doing. I just knew that I really love to empower, inspire, and motivate people to be their best. So I always tell people, like, when they say, well, I don't know what my purpose is, but you do, because you're doing it. And because you're doing it so naturally, And because it comes so natural to you, you don't even realize that that's your gift. You don't realize that that's your passion that you can turn into profits, because it's like right there, but you miss it because it comes so easy to you. So that's one of the things I share with people, is that when you're doing something and you're loving what you're doing, don't push that to the side, because that could be your way out. That can be your shift. That could be the change in your life that you're looking for. So pay attention to those signs and how you're feeling, because you know you're doing the right thing based on how you feel. So you know, like, okay, I feel good. This makes me feel happy. This makes me feel joyful. Those are the emotions you want to hold on to, because when you hold on to those emotions of joy and happiness and peace, what it does is it helps you to manifest whatever it is you're trying to create, because it's the emotions and the feelings. See, most people, they like think, oh, okay, I'm just gonna and then say, oh, okay, I want to visualize this. But it's not just about that. It's about feelings, and it's about your attitude in your present situation. So it's always about, absolutely always about having a winning attitude, no matter what's going on in your life. I think the reason why so many people embrace me is because I'm transparent about my life and what's happened to me, and dealing with all the difficulties and how I was able to use them as stepping stones. Because I believe that we all have a story, right? We all have things that we've been through. We have things that we can share with others that has allowed us to be survivors, that has allowed us to be victorious, that has allowed us to live fulfilling careers and tap into certain things. And so I think when you're transparent and authentic about it, people, you don't have to chase people if you are authentic about who you are and what you are doing. So those people will come. You know, a lot of people say, well, Georgia, you know, you keep talking about in one of your online classes how to turn my passion into profits. Like, how do you do it, girl? Like, how do I turn this into money? Like, how do I turn? And it is a process, but it's also about learning what is your why. You know, most people say, oh, I want to be successful because I want to make a lot of money. Oh, I want to be successful because I want to live in a big house. Oh, I want to be successful because people are going to love me. You know, but it shouldn't be for that. You need to know your why. Everybody should have a mission statement in your life. And a lot of times people say, well, Georgia, mission statement, you know, those are for companies and organizations and non-for-profits. I say, you know what? Every individual should have their own mission statement for their life, because what happens when you create that mission statement for your life, it gives you clarity, it gives you focus, it shows you where to spend your time, how to do things, what to do. And it really lasers everything, and it allows you to connect the dots in your life so that you're not like sporadically just going in different directions. And it's all about tying it all together, people. Your gifts, your talents, your natural abilities, your skill sets, your education. How can you use all of these things and tie it in what you love to do to create the life that you love? That's what it's really about.
And I agree, because for me, you know, when you mentioned mission statement, and I'm all about empowering and supporting other women. I'm all about that. Negative Nellies, I can't deal with negative Nellies. It's all about supporting other women. So it's so funny you said that, because my mission statement was, first, it was women, that it was to embrace people, build their character, and motivate their souls, because of the person of, you know, what I like to do with people. And it's so true, because there was a quote that there's so many millionaires that are in the cemeteries because they never lived their dreams. And it's so important now, especially with the coronavirus. A lot of people have died. So many people have passed. The ones who are living now, start living your dream, because those who are in the hospital are probably saying, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. We're alive now. So let's give birth to industries. Let's give birth to businesses. But more importantly for me, let's be kind to one another, because we're not asking for a handout. We're just asking for a hand up. You know, when you said you have a journey everyone has gone through, what have you gone through? If you care to
Um,
share that.
sure. I remember I was going through a health issue, a health crisis in my life. I had fibroids and I had to do surgery to remove the fibroids, and they were really, really bad. And I kept procrastinating. I kept putting the surgery off. I mean, I noticed certain things. I was having abdominal pains. I noticed my fingernails were like white, like you couldn't see the blood running through my fingernails. I noticed that I was craving for ice. So I would go through a case of 24 bottles of water and put it in the freezer and ice like within like 2 or 3 days. So I was craving for ice. So there were like different signs of, okay, something, your body is craving for something or your body needs something. And so when I went to the doctor, I finally figured out, okay, you have fibroids. Okay, they're really bad. They said they were size of grapefruit. That's how big the fibroids were. And I had really heavy cycles and it was always painful. And so when I went to my doctor, it was like, okay, you really have to take care of this. You really have to do surgery. And, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. I kept putting it off. I put it off. I put it off for like 3 or 4 years. And I remember I was in the city at a networking event with a friend of mine was hosting a networking event. And so I went to support her. And all I remember is that we were in a room and everybody was talking and drinking and socializing and all that. And then I just remember like the voices sounding like they were getting further and further away. And then it was like everything just looked like it was zooming out, like when you zoom in and out on a camera, everything was just like zooming out. And I'm like, the voices were getting slower. And I said, what the hell? And then all I know when I woke up, I passed out, basically. I fainted. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. And at this time, I was still at a job that I don't want to say hated, but I didn't feel it was allowing me to use my gifts and my talents. And so I remember like them giving me time to come back to work. And they're like, okay, I took off some time. Like I think I took disability for like 3 months. And then they were like, okay, you got to come back to work on this day or you don't have a job. And so I thought about it and I was like, look, this health crisis, like, took so much out of me. Like, should I really go back to this job? Should I just deal with my health issue? And so, yeah, so let me go back a little bit. So then I got up in the hospital. They told me what it was, which was, of course, with the fibroids, and I got dehydrated and all that. And so I ended up doing the surgery and I ended up not going back to that job. So, I think that like God always helps us have an exit strategy. You might not know that's what it is at the time, but like things happen to kind of force you to make choices sometimes in life, because sometimes you procrastinate and sometimes you need to leave that job, or sometimes you need to confront this health issue and you're like, you know what, I could wait. But you know what, people, I advise you not to wait, because when I had that surgery, they said it was going to be like a outpatient surgery, but it was like so bad. It took like 12 hours. They had to call in specialists. I mean, it was really serious. And I always like, I'm an advocate for health. And I always tell people, like, if you see things going on with your body that you don't recognize, that seem a little weird, just go see a doctor. Don't put it off, because you never know what's going on inside of your body. So if you see things that are not right, or you see something that's like abnormal, you need to definitely go and check that out.
And I can relate to that. And I think half of America, I don't have the statistics with me when it comes to having fibroids, because I suffered from fibroids too. And it's funny you're saying that, because mine was so, okay, we're going to talk because we're girlfriends. It's just us. Okay. Well, we have someone on and she said she loves you. She said that's facts when you're talking about fibroids. And she said you were talking about the journey, and she says yes, the journey. And I can share this because I've noticed a lot of people, women that I'm talking to, when they're working in a field they shouldn't be working, or a company where they shouldn't be working, health crisis pops up. So for me, I was living 3 weeks out of the month out of where I live. I was living in hotels and stuff for my job. I was training doctors and things like that. But after a while, I wasn't loving it anymore. They gave me the position, I got a promotion, and they probably didn't think I was going to do well. I was phenomenal. The heights that I climbed, and, everything was just great. I was starting to feel like I was getting panic attacks when I was driving to where I needed to go. Then I needed to, okay, I said that was happening. Then I'm like, okay, what else? Then all of a sudden my clots, because like you, I mean, it was bad where I couldn't wear white. I'm always having my husband walk behind me and I'm like, do you see anything? Do you see anything? Do you see? I would soak the bed up. I would pass out because of losing so much blood, to a point where I almost needed to have a blood transfusion. Ambulance picked me up twice because of me passing out, scaring my husband half to death. So that's when they told me it was fibroids. And that started because of eating vegan, God knows. And then I decided to eat chicken, and it was a hot mess. And I'm going to say it. So it was chicken and red velvet cake, things that my body could not metabolize. So my system was in a shock. So then my stomach was starting to get big. Girl, I looked like I was 6 months pregnant.
Yeah, that's
I'm like, what? Because your stomach gets distended. And course, forget about relations. That wasn't working for me. So I found a acupuncturist, and she did what she could do, and she was telling me what was going on, stagnation. Then I went to a doctor, and he's a doctor that a lot of people go to because all the doctors were telling me hysterectomy. And I'm like, we're not doing hysterectomy. Mine was the size of a grapefruit. Like if you try to hold your stomach in, you could feel it.
It was hard. Yeah.
Yeah, you could feel it. So he was one of the few doctors out of 5 doctors that didn't recommend hysterectomy. He's like, all these doctors, all they want to do is just take out your insides. We don't need to do that. Shout out to Dr. Littman. When you go in his office, you see all these people that have come to see him. You were shocked. And that they were suffering silently, because I think a lot of us women, we were suffering silently. We didn't want to say anything. We were still going to work. We weren't taking care of ourselves like we should, getting dehydrated. It was just a mess. So I decided, I said, you know what? I'm going to take some disability, do this quick little procedure where they clamped me, and eat better, because the procedure that I had, 5 out of 10 women would come back and get hysterectomy if they didn't do the hysterectomy. So mine, and because I went back to my eating habits, I have not had an issue, and things like that. But I didn't have a life. I didn't want to go out. When my cycle was coming, I would call out sick. If I wasn't on the road, I was getting backaches. My life was miserable and I was cranky. So I definitely understand that with you. And then once you get past the health crisis, then you have other things you need to do. So because of that, passing out in the hotel in Augusta, I'm in the hospital. My husband had to drive 3 hours. And I said, you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to my body. And I promise you, the minute I made that switch, that I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm good with people. I'm good. Let me do my own. I was never afraid, but I just wasn't sure, because I didn't go to school for this. So, but you know what, Jackie, you're from New York. You can do anything, as Frank Sinatra said. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So I took a leap, and because I'm saying, if companies invest in me, in training, healthcare, and all that kind of stuff, why not invest in myself?
Right.
And so often women don't do that. So I say that to say, I just wanted you to understand. I understand that whole fibroid thing, because, baby, it is not good.
It's real.
So, Miss Fierceness, what did you decide to make that leap to turn your passion into prosperity and into profits?
So what I did, and what I do recommend for people, is to come up with an exit strategy. What I mean by that is, don't just walk off your job if you don't have at least 6 months or years worth of income. You know what I mean? Like, don't put yourself in a position where you're going to be struggling, because when you're struggling, you can't focus on your gifts. You can't focus on your talent because you're so busy thinking about your livelihood and paying your bills and paying your mortgage and taking care of your family. So you just got to be smart when you're making decisions. And even if you have to work that job until you can transition fully into your new position, figure it out how you can do it. I was still working when I wrote my first book, How to Make Big Bucks Without Selling Your Soul. That was my first book that I written. And then after that, I branched off to do several other books. I started doing life coaching, and I started doing speaking engagements. And then I wrote a book about career development that I turned into a curriculum, and I sold that curriculum to high schools and colleges. So there's a way to turn it into something profitable, but you just have to take the journey, like I said, and you have to be smart, and you have to save money so that you can have like a stash of money. Like, if you really at that point where you feel like your job is just affecting your health, then of course you can't stay. But just make sure that you can continue to do what you need to do financially with your bills for at least 6 months or a year, so that at least you can take that time to not have to worry about, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that. You can't have a clear head like that. I think that transformation can only begin once you start letting go of all your preconceived notions of what you think happiness is. People think, oh, happiness means money, or happiness means having the right relationship, or happiness means having the job that you love, or happiness means, whatever you think it is. But once you get that, you realize that that wasn't the thing. You know what I mean? It was something deeper. And I think that once they start to tap into what it is that they're looking for, because they start to attain the things that they want, and they realize that's not filling the void. When you come to a place, this is the thing that I could say for anybody that is the most fulfilling thing, is to do what you love and love what you do and get paid for it. That is the most fulfilling thing in this world. Like once you get to a place where you could do that, you don't feel like anything is missing. Yeah, you want relationships, you want those other things, but then you feel like you're fulfilled. And so transformation begins once you start to take action. Like Jacqueline was saying, you can't just say, oh, I want my life to change, but yet you're not taking the action for the growth in your journey. You're not doing what you need to do for you to change. You know, one thing that people would say, you know what, I don't want to be in this relationship no more. I don't want to be at this job anymore. I'm tired of this weight. I want to lose weight. I want to do, and you say you want to do all these things, but yeah, there's no action. You know what I mean? Like you're complaining about it, but you're not taking the action. So it's so important for people to understand that for change to happen, there has to be action and there has to be activity. Because if there's no action and there's no activity, there is no change.